Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. You know, it's nice to say things. You know, sometimes you say something that makes you feel so smart and powerful and righteous, but just simply saying something isn't enough. You gotta be able to back it up. And that's the thing with leftoids. They're really good at, packaging these talking points. The science is unanimous. The science is on our side. Scientific consensus, yada, yada, yada. A lot of people just simply buy it without question. Oh, the science says, oh, count me in. Very few people, it seems, actually poke and prod and try to take a look inside and see exactly what these leftoids are referring to when they claim the science says. But more people should be more intellectually curious. You know, the old mantra, question everything. Because when you do that, when you actually question the supposed scientific consensus, especially when it comes to most of these leftist narratives, let's be honest, well, you learn that there is no consensus whatsoever. It's more of a religion, a kind of cult. There's no actual scientific basis behind the claims themselves, and it's moments like these that really start to cement that fact. We got an incredibly viral and amazing clip of an encounter between Republican Dan Crenshaw. I know, maybe not your favorite politician, but in this case, you gotta give him credit. He did a fantastic job. You have Dan Crenshaw questioning a Democrat witness, and holy moly, does this expose just how flawed leftist ideology really is. We've got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, don't really need to say too much more. Take a look at this.
You've said that we've cherry-picked data. How do you mean how do you mean that?
So it is very unscientific and flawed to pick a single study or a single statistic and to discuss it in isolation.
Totally agree.
Medical experts are able to talk about all of the evidence as a whole.
Totally agree. So it's good to look at systematic reviews, right? That's the gold standard of evidence when you're trying to understand whether something works or whether it doesn't. So the British Journal of Medicine looked at 61 systematic reviews with the conclusion that, quote, there is great uncertainty about the effects of puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and surgeries in young people. The Journal of Endocrine Society came up with the same conclusion, even the American Academy of Pediatrics. They all cite the lack of evidence. And so here's the thing. If you're doing a therapy, and it's, temporary, whatever, fine, maybe let's try it, let's see if it works. But when you're talking about permanent physiological changes, do you not agree, just from an ethical standpoint, that you might want extremely strong evidence of the benefits? And there is no systematic review that states that there is strong evidence of benefits.
Sir, are you aware of how the quality evidence grading system works and how it's applied?
Yeah, we've read through it. That's why I'm citing these journals. So which journal says something different? We should have that debate. Tell me a journal that has done systematic reviews that cites different evidence, that cites strong evidence for benefits of these therapies.
The standards of care were developed based on extensive...
You're not telling me any journal, you're not telling me any study. Don't say standards of care.
Yeah. So...
tell me one.
The standards of care.
That's the standards of care. That's not a journal, that's not a study. That's not an organization, that's not an institution. You're just saying words. Name one study. Yeah. I'm out of time. I yield back.
Name a single study. You can't show up as an expert Democrat witness, presenting a side of the supposed science on such an important issue, and be so ill-prepared, unable to answer such a simple question. Can you please provide some sources for the point you're trying to make? One study would be appreciated. And I know just there I said show up ill-prepared, but really it's not an issue of being ill-prepared, because on this particular issue, you can't be prepared. You cannot show up as a Democrat witness on this issue with any actual scientific literature or studies to back up the points that you're trying to make, because there aren't any. And at this point, it seems like Democrats have completely given up on the whole science angle. Screw the science, they say. It's about ma feels good. Infamous, which will now live in infamy.
I don't give a shit about the scientific explanations.
There's no science on the Democrat side on this issue. It's cultural, it's religious, it's cultist, it's the new cult, the new fad. Actual scientific basis backing these medical procedures and medical intervention, well then these treatments would actually be approved. And as you guys know, which many people have been talking about lately, a lot of these puberty blockers that are given to kids for the purposes of affirming gender aren't even approved for that specific use. Yet it's being done anyway. Yet the Democrats know this. The Democrats know there's no actual scientific study to suggest that changing your gender magically fixes underlying mental issues. Yet they'll claim that all scientists agree. It's unanimous. And they will never show you the other side. You know, licensed physicians, psychiatrists, people who are at the top of the field making the dissenting argument, yelling from the mountaintops, but nobody seems to be listening. Experts like this, during the same panel,
I'm a board-certified child, adolescent, and adult psychiatrist, author, and senior fellow at Do No Harm. I have been taking care of patients for 45 years. I'm going to use my time to respond to Dr. McNamara. First, I'm struck by her use of the phrase, sex assigned at birth. Sex is not assigned at birth. Sex is established at conception, and it's recognized at birth, if not earlier. Dr. McNamara claims that her views are science-based, but to claim that sex is assigned at birth is without any scientific basis whatsoever. Its language misleads people, especially children, into thinking that male and female are arbitrary designations and can change.
Now, you're never going to hear that voice on any of the mainstream platforms because that would destroy their narrative that there's scientific consensus when there really isn't. The only actual consensus is an ideological one that is enforced. That's the proper word, enforced. Do as we say or else. Funding will dry up, we'll boycott or try to destroy your practice, your hospital, whatever it is. We'll make a big fuss out of it, yada yada yada, you get the drill. Compliance by intimidation. Comply or else. The typical leftist modus operandi. In other words, fascism. That's obviously a major factor, but it's not the only one. The other one is money. Big healthcare and big pharma. It's big business. They're expecting all the medication and all the procedures to amount to billions in revenue over the next couple years. It's big business. If we could turn the current mental health crisis that young people are experiencing, because of course that's a real thing, that's happening, into endless medications, prescriptions, procedures, and surgeries, well then we stand to make a pretty penny. And so clearly there's also an element of greed that's taking over here. That's obviously part of the problem. If anything, it's predatory. There's a mental health crisis with young people. That's happening. And it's something that should be addressed. You know, these are topics that we seriously should be discussing, and we should be tackling these issues honestly. But it's impossible to tackle these issues honestly when we're dealing with a cult. And that's clearly what's going on. The video that I showed you is video audio proof. You saw it, you heard it. There is no scientific basis backing up the other side's argument. They're clearly operating in bad faith, and I think it's going to have devastating consequences. Either we figure out how to fix the national conversation quick, or I guess we just see where this social experiment based on pseudoscience, we just see where it goes. Seems a little bit dangerous to me. That's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. Of course, you know that we'd love to have you here. Thanks for watching, folks, and I'll see you on the next one.